So what's going on, Legacy Hack? Viewers, subscribers, listeners, yours truly, Tyler McCart, coming at you. Excited to be able to do this episode. Jack is actually away right now. He actually gave his wife, now here's the good thing about Jack. Jack gave his wife a day off from the kids. And he's at home right now, catching up with some work that he needed to get done, but he's also taking care of the kids and giving his wife a break for that. So good on you, Jack, for doing that. Well done. Now, I am actually recording solo, so I'm going to use my notes right over here on my iMac. So if I look back at the camera here and I look over here, don't be concerned. I'm not going anywhere. I'm still focused on you. But again, here at Legacy Hack, we do three things. We talk about stories. We also talk about the nuts and bolts. And then we also talk about the mindset. So this is kind of where we kind of fall. And today we're going to talk a little bit of, it's going to maybe kind of be jumping into the nuts and bolts a little bit, but also a little bit of the mindset. So I want to talk about today the concept of infinite banking versus family banking. You ready for that? All right, let's jump in. My first question to you is, do you think they're the same? And I'm going to say they are not the same. You might say, whoa, Tyler, come on. I mean, over the last couple of weeks, I've been watching some of your videos, you and Jack and Kyle talking about things, and here you are saying that it's not the same, and you kind of almost use these interchangeably. Yes, I am saying that right now, that they are not the same. Why do you say that, Tyler? Great question. Glad you asked. Appreciate that, guys. Now, here's why I say this. It's because Tyler is continually learning myself about this whole concept. I am still green. I'm still growing in this area. And I was listening to a YouTube episode of a gentleman named Garrett Gunderson. So if you don't know who Garrett is, highly recommend Garrett. I really enjoyed his material. Actually, the very first book I actually read about this whole concept or whole entire world was actually What Would the Rockefellers Do? His book was kind of the rabbit hole that I went down and started to get into this whole entire world that I really had no idea about. Now, he made a comment in his podcast interview that he was doing that infinite banking and family banking are not the same. They're related, but they are not the same. And so when he said that, it sent a light bulb off in my little brain. All of a sudden, revelation knowledge, a new door had unlocked, and I was walking through something brand new. So I just want to compare the two today of why they're different. I might not go into a lot of details. I might have a little bit of stories behind this of other people that I've seen and even my own story as well. But I just want to share this. This is just new, fresh off the press with me. It's happened this week, and I felt like this might be a good episode to share. So here we go. So I read the book by Nelson Nash, Becoming Your Own Banker. Now, the core idea behind that book, if you really want to know, is all about becoming your own banker, infinite banking. That's the premise of the book. It says, basically, here's the core idea. I'm just going to read this off the screen. It says, use properly structured dividend-paying whole life insurance to become your own banker. That's basically what it is, through cash value growth, policy loans, recapturing interest, financing cars, financing business purchases, investments, capital efficiency. These are all the things that Nelson Nash in his book kind of lays out, which sound good. Although it is more of a financial strategy if you're going to use that. And you, in a very simple word, if I could just put basically, if you did only the infinite banking concept, which is totally awesome, What you've done is you've actually taken control of the banking function in your life. That's really kind of the premise of infinite banking. You've actually now taken back that control of that banking function in your life. No longer do you have to go down to ABC Bank where your money is and go and ask for a loan and fill out all the paperwork to be able to get that loan so that you can then go and take that loan after you've probably waited a month and put out all the information you need to do and your second born children that you might have somewhere else that you need a document to them. And you put before your business plan, all these things that you have to do in order to get a loan for your money that you already have in there, that they're already farming out to other people fractionally and making a lot of money themselves. But now all of a sudden, because you decided to say, hey, I want to take that back control, I want to own that. So you actually go into and start the infinite banking concept and you start doing those things that make you an infinite banker. Now, let's jump to FBC, which is family banking concept. Now, the origin is more of a framework or philosophy. It's different within different advisors, right? Case in point. I was sitting there listening to an interview with Jason Lowe. Now, Jason Lowe, I've referenced him earlier. He's got a very successful practice, but he's talked about how he had 77 different policies amongst his family members that he actually controlled. And he had people, if you wanted to participate in that, you had to be 18 years or older, and you had to go sit down with the attorney that was actually administrating how the loans were done, who got what loan, how it was repaid, all these things. And you went to that attorney. And so you would go that day, sit down once you turned 18, sit down with that gentleman or lady, I don't know which one it was, it doesn't really matter. But sit down with him and actually sit there and talk about, here's what the family has, here's how it works, here's the do's and don'ts that you can participate in. Like one of the things is, if you don't communicate with your family, with this family, this is one of the rules they have, one of the governing, kind of rules they have for this thing. If you don't communicate with, say, Jason or say someone in the family that actually kind of runs this, that you're going to be late on a payment or that you need to maybe reassess how the payments are going, if you don't communicate that, you get one chance. And if you don't communicate and you kind of go off the rails a little bit and you don't repay that loan, you are cut off from that family banking opportunity for good. That is their rules. Let that sink in a little bit. I'm like, but here we go. This is now family banking. And where this kind of came into play for me is when I originally started looking at this whole Rockefeller method, I just was like, holy cow, how did they be able to do this? Well, I started out with the infinite banking stuff and I started reading Nelson Nash's stuff and I started learning, okay, holy cow, I can do this. I can actually become my own banker. Great. So I set up a policy on myself. I set up a policy on Amy. And then after that happened, a year or two later, I set up policies on my kids. And this is where I kind of started to shift more into family banking because I started letting my kids know that they had this kind of, if you want to call it an asset, they had this access to this capital that one day they can use. And I'm going to teach them how to do that. Hence, this is getting now bigger than just Tyler. And let me just say this. Here's one of the differentiating things, okay, of infinite banking whenever it comes to family banking. Infinite banking is more about the individual. It's more about just that individual utilizing it, taking control of their banking functions in their life, and just using it for business purposes, investment purposes, car loans, different things in their own individual life. When you start to incorporate others, i.e. your family, now all of a sudden you've got other people involved. So now you've got things you've got to start to teach, you've got to educate, you've got to pass along some wisdom, you've got to pass along actually some rules on how it is going to be governed and administered. Now, here's the other thing. Family banking focuses, I'm going to read, kind of look back at my screen right here. It's multi-generational planning. Your family's got to have a vision and values and mission behind your family bank. You're going to probably have to have a trust structure that eventually will need to be set up. You're going to need to educate your children and even your grandchildren, your future children. So you're going to have to think about that right there. It's going to create capital stewardship. So you're going to have to really help your children and your grandchildren and even your heirs down the road, if this is going to perpetuate, that this is not about you as an individual, which our society wants to think that the individual is the be-all, end-all. No, the family is what's all important here. And you are a steward of what has been created. Does that make sense? All right. So let me read this. How does your family build a system that will outlast you 100 to 150 years? Well, one of the ways you do that is actually you can utilize the family banking concept. Okay. So here's just some back and forth comparisons. Infinite banking, individual strategy. Family banking, generational strategy. Infinite banking, policy centered. So really kind of just focus on the policy. Family banking, family centered. Infinite banking, controlling finances. Family banking, building a legacy infrastructure. Infinite banking, math and mechanics, basically you just need to know the numbers. Well, family banking, you've got to have values, governances, and capital. So all that kind of builds into this. So which one's better for you? I don't know. This is for you to decide. I can tell you this, okay? So hear me on this, because I'm living this right now. I feel like infinite banking is a lot easier concept to do. And the reason why I say that is because it's just you. It's you running the show, you determining what kind of how the cash flows in, flows out. You're the only one that determines that, which is a whole lot easier. When you go to your family, now that actually takes a lot more work. Now, can you set up systems and governances and code of conducts and conflict resolutions inside of things for your structure? Yes. That can be headed off? Yes. Does it take some more work? Yes. Is it beneficial long term? Yes. So, legacy hack. This is it. That's all I wanted to share with you. This is a little bit of the new thing that I've just kind of had a little epiphany about, and I wanted to share that with you guys. Hope you enjoyed this, gang, and thanks for tuning in. We're going to land this plane, and we'll catch you on the other side.